Hi everyone, it's Jen from Sunday Baubles. I hope you're doing great. This is the first in a series about personal jewelry stories. And as I announced on a post in my community tab, I am looking for your stories too. So if you have a special piece that you'd like to talk about, please do get in touch. Our first item that we're going to talk about is this pendant. Now, this pendant has quite an interesting story, at least to me, and I'm excited to share it with you. I bought it at the height of the pandemic. What is a person to do if you love collecting things and you can't get out to any antique markets or stores? Well, you look online. And I found this one at a pawn shop not too far from me, just across the border. I'll share the listing. Here it is. It was advertised as a 14 karat gold emerald pendant. Now, if you know anything about emeralds, you know that usually there is some level of inclusion to them called jardine. And it almost looks like a little garden. That's why it's called that. And that's how you know that it's natural. They were saying that this was natural, but it did not have any inclusions. So I did ask them a couple of times to confirm if it really was an emerald, if they were certain. And they said yes, they tested it and they were sure. Well, the price was right, and I decided that I might as well go for it because I didn't have an emerald in my collection. I tried to buy an emerald once, about 5 or 6 years ago, and I failed. I had bought it from a wonderful seller, and when the package arrived, the ring was missing completely from it. It had been tampered with and then taped back together. I paid the customs and duties that were owing, and there was nothing inside. She was so kind and made things right, but that beautiful ring that you're seeing on screen never did make it to my hands. Since that point in time, I kind of considered emeralds to be a little bit unlucky for me, so I did not try to purchase any more until this pendant. I was very excited to get it in the mail. It only took a few days because it was so close to me. And when it came, I opened it up and I was flummoxed by what I saw. This was the pendant that I held in my hand. It was nighttime, and the stone was clearly not green, it was blue. Now, those of you that have watched some of my videos know how much I love color changing and color shifting gemstones as well as glass. So I immediately pulled out my light box and decided to see, what do we have here? Under different light conditions, this is what I saw. Using fluorescent lights or in natural daylight as well, sunlight, bright sunlight, you're able to see that beautiful green. And then in incandescent light or the indoor light, this is where you're going to see the blue. I was mesmerized, not at all disappointed in any way, but not sure what I had on my hands. Now, it's a hard stone. I knew that it was about an 8 on the Mohs scale, testing around beryl or spinel, but I wanted to take it to a jeweler, gemologist, actually, a certified gemologist, in order to test it because they had more equipment and would be able to tell me, hopefully with certainty, what it was. Until then, the pendant did have a few clues. So the maker mark and the purity mark gave us a few hints. 585 means that it did not come from anywhere in North America and not from Britain either. And then we've got a Viking ship. After looking at it with my loupe for a long time, that's what I decided that it was. Not a duck, not a dinosaur, but a Viking ship. I also made a call out into some of my jewelry communities and tried to get some opinions too. And then I began to search. Now, my usual places to go to research hallmarks didn't have anything referred to this, so I had to rely on Google. And when I Googled Viking ship and Googled precious metals or stones as well, trying to describe this as best as I could, nothing came up. It wasn't until I dropped everything except for Viking ship hallmark that I came across a silver forum that referenced the same shape. And I was lucky enough to find someone who brought up the name Lars Harsheim. Now, after doing further searches, Lars Harsheim's mark was found and definitely was a match for mine, and I even found some of his work. This is a beautiful Norwegian solge, usually given in time for ceremonies, often for weddings, meant to reflect out bad spirits and in luck. It is so beautiful. I hope I did that justice. These are cultural pieces and really wonderful. Now, I decided to keep searching to see what I could find, and I also was able to find catalogs from the 1970s from the Lars Harsheim Company. Here is one page of rings, and you can see the echoes of those same shapes, a little bit on the modernist side. We also have some bracelets, precious stone jewelry, and then one of my favorites is this page here, which leads into an ad, "The gift that pleases, the gift from the goldsmith." I absolutely love it. Um, Now, I kept looking, and when I looked for Lars Harsheim, I did come up with one other hint. It was a page on Rike Harsheim, another goldsmith in Norway. And this little article references 4 generations of goldsmiths. And it turns out that Lars Harsheim is part of her genealogy. So that gave me even more opportunity to research the genealogy and the company while I waited to find out what the heck this stone was going to be. And what I tracked down was that Lars, the first Lars Harsheim in this story, founded the company in 1913. And it was transitioned to his sons and then ultimately to Ola, who sold the company in 1996. The company went bankrupt in 2003, but Rike and Marike, her daughter, decided to continue in the tradition, are very well known goldsmiths and designers in Norway to this day with their own company. And I was so excited to find all this information because it also allowed me to find their website. Now, everything was in Norwegian. So, as you might imagine, I don't speak Norwegian, I don't write Norwegian, but Google Translate was absolutely my friend. So I typed up an email explaining what I had found and that I was looking for some information. Was there anything that they could do to help? And in the end, she sent me over to her father, Ola, who was available on Facebook. So I repeated that exercise, writing and using Google Translate to reach out to Ola Harsheim. And he was kind enough to get back to me and even shared with me some catalogs. And he said that this looked like it was work from the generations of his family. And he pulled open these 2 images and shared that he believed the pendant was very, very similar, and that these designs were some of their early work in the 20th century. And here we have a side-by-side of my pendant with those 2. And he also highlighted that this bail design is something that was used in the 1930s and 40s. Examining this pendant stylistically definitely does place it in that sort of retro or retro modern period. The elements are both geometric as well as a bit softer with the leaves, and the colors with that blue that echoes aquamarine or zircon or topaz, and the green, which draws from the earlier Art Deco period's green and uranium glass, make sense. The last question we had to answer was, what is this stone? I brought it to a local GIA certified gemologist, and he used a series of tests and equipment to examine the refractive index, its hardness. He took a look at it using Chelsea filters and under different UV wavelengths and other tests that I'm not familiar with. At the end, he concluded that it was not beryl, but a spinel, and recommended that if we wanted to know the exact DNA, we should send it away to the GIA. I decided that since this was something that I would be keeping in my collection, there was no need to do that. So that part does not matter to me. It is an absolutely beautiful pendant that prompted all sorts of interesting communications, worldwide discussions in the community. I'm so grateful for technology to allow that to have happened and for all sorts of resources to have been digitized so that I had access to them. This is what makes jewelry collecting fun. I love being able to research and share stories. Some stories are simple. Where did something come from? Maybe it was handed down from family. If you'd like to share your story with me, I would absolutely love to hear it. And if you're willing for me to share, even better. Please get in touch. sundaebaubles@gmail.com is my email, and there's more details on this initiative in my community tab under the last post. I hope you enjoyed this video today. Please leave comments and share your thoughts, and I'll see you again soon.